The date was June 1st, 1921, when Black Wall Street, the name fittingly given to one of the most affluent all-black communities in America, was bombed from the air and burned to the ground by mobs of envious whites. In a period spanning fewer than 12 hours, a once thriving 36-block black business district in northern Tulsa lay smoldering, a model community destroyed and a major African-American economic movement resoundingly diffused. The night's carnage left some 3,000 African-Americans dead and over 600 successful businesses lost. Amongst these were 21 churches, 21 restaurants, 30 grocery stores, and 2 movie theaters, plus a hospital, a bank, a post office, libraries, schools, law offices, and a half dozen private airplanes, and even a bus system. As could be expected, the impetus behind it all was the infamous Ku Klux Klan working in consort with ranking city officials and many other sympathizers. The description of Black Wall Street, or Little Africa as it was also known, would be to liken it to a mini Beverly Hills. It was the golden door of the black community during the early 1900s, and it proved that African Americans had successful business infrastructure. That's what Black Wall Street was all about. The dollar circulated 36 to 1,000 times, sometimes taking an entire year for the currency to leave the community. Now, in 2009, a dollar left the black community in less than 6 hours. As far as resources, there were PhDs residing in Little Africa, black attorneys and doctors. One doctor was Dr. Berry, who also owned the bus system. His average income was $500 a day, a hefty pocket of change in 1910. During that era, physician-owned medical schools. There were also pawn shops everywhere, jewelry stores, churches, restaurants, and movie theaters. It was a time when the entire state of Oklahoma had only 2 airports, yet 6 blacks owned their own airplanes. It was a very fascinating community. The area encompassed over 600 businesses in a 36 square block area with a population of 15,000 African Americans. And when the lower economic Europeans looked over and saw what the black community created, many of them were jealous. When the average student went to school on Black Wall Street, he wore a suit and tie because of the morals and respect that they were taught at a young age. The mainstay of the community was to educate every child. Nepotism was a word they passionately believed in. The main thoroughfare was Greenwood Avenue, and it was intersected by Archer and Pine Streets. From the first letters of each of these names, you get GAP, and that's where the renowned R&B music group The Gap Band got its name. They were from Tulsa. Black Wall Street was a prime example of the typical black community in America that did business. But it was in an unusual location. You see, at that time, Oklahoma was set aside to be a black and Indian state. There were over 28 black townships there. 1/3 of the people who traveled in the terrifying Trail of Tears alongside the Indians between 1830 to 1842 were black people. The citizens of this proposed Indian and black state chose a black governor, a treasurer from Kansas named McDade. But the Ku Klux Klan said that if he assumed office, that they would kill him in less than 48 hours. A lot of blacks owned farmland, and many of them had gone into the oil business. The community was so tight and wealthy because they traded dollars hand to hand, and because they were dependent upon one another as a result of the Jim Crow laws. It was not unusual that if a resident's home accidentally burned down, it could be rebuilt within a few weeks by neighbors. This was the type of scenario that was going on day to day on Black Wall Street. When blacks intermarried into the Indian culture, some of them did receive their promised 40 acres and a mule, and with that came whatever oil was later found on the properties. On Black Wall Street, a lot of global business was conducted. The community flourished from the early 1900s until June 1st, 1921. That's when the largest massacre of non-military Americans in the history of this country took place, and it was led by the Ku Klux Klan. Imagine walking out of your front door and seeing 1,500 homes being burned. It must have been horrifying. Interviewed survivors believe that the whole thing was planned due to the fact that white families with their children stood around on the borders of the community and watched the massacre, the looting, everything, much in the same way they would watch a lynching. The spectator activity is where the word picnic is derived from. You see, it was typical to have community gatherings on Friday evenings in Oklahoma. The word was short for pick a nigger, to lynch that is. They would lynch a black male and cut off body parts as souvenirs. This went on every weekend in this country. That's where the term really came from. The cause of the massacre was simply racial economic jealousy. A lot of white folks had come back from World War I and they were poor. When they looked over into the black communities and realized that black men who fought in the war had come home as heroes and that helped trigger the destruction. It cost the black community everything, and not a single dime of restitution, no insurance claims, has ever been awarded to the victims to this day. It is estimated that 3,000 black people were killed. Many of them were buried in mass graves all around the city. Some were thrown into the river. As a matter of fact, at 21st Street and Yale Avenue, where there now stands a Sears parking lot, that corner used to be a coal mine, where many of the bodies were thrown into the shafts. Many black Americans don't know about this story because we don't apply the word Holocaust to our struggle. Jewish people use the word Holocaust all the time. White people use the word Holocaust. It's politically correct to use the word Holocaust. But when we black folks use the word, people think that we're being crybabies or that we're trying to bring up old issues. No one comes to our support. In 1910, our forefathers and mothers owned 13 million acres of land at the height of racism in this country. Our mandate now is to teach our children about our own ongoing black Holocaust. We can rebuild Black Wall Street, but it won't be easy due to the psychological conditioning of black people ever since our ancestors arrived in America. Today, it is estimated that black income is $1 trillion. It's also estimated that this $1 trillion stay within the African American community just about 6 hours, while other cultures within America spend their money multiple times within their own culture before it leaves their community. Black people's money changed hands to another black-owned enterprise less than one time. We have been conditioned to believe that black business is whack business, unless it's a beauty salon, barbershop, hip-hop, or liquor store. More black money changes hands to drug dealers and bootleggers of audio CDs and movie CDs and brand name handbags than they do to legitimately owned businesses. The black community is dying. We have gotten caught up in the illusion of the American dream that instructs us to trust in corporate America for our children's future and to forget about all that nonsense of business ownership, entrepreneurism, and black cultural identity. We have accepted this conditioning of the mind to the point where we consider anything that unifies us for the purpose of empowerment we deem counterproductive to race assimilation. We have become more concerned with being accepted by other cultures, more important than our own economic empowerment. Assimilation has become the new minstrel show face. Today we sing, dance, shuck and jive in business suits, while simultaneously disconnecting from all cultural connection for community race empowerment, unless it is ordained by white masters. To be a black entrepreneur in membership with a black economic conscious think tank would be considered racist in view to numerous black business people. We have adopted a self-absorbed, disconnected mentality where many blacks that graduate from historically black universities has never heard of the Willie Lynch letter, while they shuck, jive, and step in the Greek fraternities. It would appear that even black institutions of higher learning have abandoned cultural empowerment for government funding. To educate one in mind, but not in cultural history and cultural responsibility, is to educate a disconnected people on a social economic decline collectively. It's time to stand up and be accountable to our ancestors' sacrifices, to our children. It's up to us to give them back their history, their culture, and their unity. And it's up to us to rebuild Black Economic Wall Street. We must reconnect with our history. We must reconnect with our culture of unity. We must rebuild our culture of trust in our businesses and services. And we must reconnect with our collective creativity. We must also continue to educate in entrepreneurism and to teach business building strategy in a modern day environment using the latest cutting edge business tools and resources. If we do not do this thing now, our children will be a permanent economic and political underclass in this society forever. It's time to reconnect and get busy. This is how we rebuild Black Wall Street on a global scale. Thank you very, very much. I'm Derek Henry, Black business and community advocate and member of the Black Business Builders Club.
I bet you a lot of you didn't even know about Black Wall Street, aka Little Africa, that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma back in 1921. That particular incident is the Black Holocaust. These black people did every single thing that black folks are told they should do. You know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, do things for yourself, stop asking for handouts. Well, those black people did all of that, and yet they were attacked. Why? I thought black people need to do for themselves and stop begging for everything. And yet, when black folks did it, you wouldn't mess with them. Now, let me tell you something. On top of what got that started, you had the white men coming back from World War I, and they could not get jobs to save their life. They were losing everything. But they looked over to Little Africa, and they saw mansions over there. They were staying in shacks. They were losing their stuff, but yet these black folks are flourishing, and they couldn't stand it. And they had to go over there and attack those black people because they didn't want black people to have nothing, because they couldn't have something. Pure, unadulterated jealousy with a little hint of racism along with it. And that's sad. Now, did you hear that these black people owned airplanes? How many black folks you know right now own airplanes? They own airplanes. Had their own airport over there. Had, grocery stores, jewelry stores, doctor's offices, lawyers' offices. I mean, all the things that you heard was in this particular town. We don't have hardly none of that today. This is what we need to inspire to be like. Be like our brothers and sisters in this town. They got together on one accord. They couldn't trade anything with the white man. They had to do for self. And the reason why a lot of these brothers got rich is that when they got this land, the land had oil on it too. They sold all the oil to them oil companies, and these brothers got paid. And instead of them tricking off their money, getting tattoos, tricking their money off the hoes, these brothers say, you know what? We're going to build something here. We're going to make a community for ourselves, because we can't go stay in a white neighborhood. So we got to build something for ourselves. So and that's what they did. They built all this on their blood, sweat, and tears. They didn't have no help from nobody else. All the black folks built that town for themselves, and they was happy. They had a moral code there where men wore suits and little boys even wore shirt and ties, and little girls dressed appropriately. You didn't have Ray Ray on the corner hanging out, dealing drugs and shooting. You didn't have these whores walking around the street. You didn't have any of that. You had respectful people, and it was the environment to be respected. And anytime a black person needed some sort of help, the whole community went out to help them. It wasn't this, I ain't helping him, I ain't helping her. It's no, my brother down, my sister down, I'm going to go help them. And this community was doing great. They wanted for nothing in the height of racism and in the height of Jim Crow. But what got all that started with the Klan, outside talking about their jealousy and why they went over there to attack them, they wanted to look for a reason. So what happened, they had this one brother. He was in the elevator, and his white girl was an attendant. And the elevator shifted, and he tried to hold himself up on her because he didn't want to fall. That was it. The brother didn't do nothing. She went and say, oh, he raped me. And that newspaper say, oh, this Negro from Little Africa, he raped a white girl. We need to do something about this. And so they rallied themselves off of that alone, talking about a supposed rape. When the girl ended up recanting her story, said, wait a minute, he didn't rape me, he just fell. Because the girl recanted her story, but they didn't want to hear it at all. They said, oh, no, he did rape you. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so the Klan got together, and with the city government as well, the Klan sympathizers, and they went over there and bombed Little Africa. Killed all our brothers and sisters and children. Destroyed the whole town that these black people worked hard for. So jealous that black people had something. When you say they could not join nothing with you, they couldn't stay in your neighborhood, they couldn't do anything, they built something for themselves, and they still was attacked. They still was destroyed. Now, if that doesn't tell you that black people don't want them to have anything, I don't know what else to tell you. You pay attention to it when we start getting together, black people, about something. We start unifying. Do you notice how scary it gets? Not for us, but for people that worry about us like that. Because rest assured, they got people that worried about me and you getting together and being on one accord. They love to see us fighting. They love to see us shooting each other in the street. They love to see the single mothers. They love to see the whoredom. That's not the legacy of my people. That's why I speak against it and say, hey, this stuff not right as a norm. Because if you look back in your history, you were mothers, fathers, you were husbands, you were wives, and you was to be respected, and your children respected you. Now, if I was the whole time we was here, we were nothing but thugs and hood rats, I wouldn't say nothing, because that's just, hey, I say, hey, that's just black folks. But that is not us. That's why I speak up and speak against it. Little Africa is your legacy. Little Africa is who you are and where you come from, people like that. The thing is, they want to hide this sort of history, but this is American history. Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921 happened in this nation, not Africa, in this nation. And we need to know this. Everybody needs to know about the Black Wall Street, a.k.a. Little Africa. But they don't want you to know that because they don't want you to say, wow, look at what we did in spite of that time period. They also don't want you to know how brutal and evil things has been happening to black folks in this nation. Because they want to make sure they remove all references to the atrocities of black people. That is a black Holocaust. You go in there just destroying people for nothing? For nothing. Just because you're jealous because black folks had mansions and you didn't have it. This is why black folks need to get and have the spirit of little Africa and start building. Stop fighting so much about stupid stuff. Fighting over color. Fighting over who got more money than who. Who cares at the end of the day? Worrying about a dude with his female. Worrying about another brother. You know, it's stupid. All this stuff is stupid that we do. And it's very counterproductive. And don't you realize they got people cheering you on when you always downing your own people and attacking your own people? Now, if I talk about hood rats and thugs, because I know that's not our legacy, and it hurts me to see that stuff, and if I can put out a video showing what these people are doing and get somebody else to see and say, you know what, I don't want to be that way, that is why I talk about them. I have no issue with talking about that. But at the end of the day, we need our family back to build again. Look at these brothers in the NBA. If all them brothers in the NBA say, you know what, forget the NBA, we starting our own. We ain't fooling with them no more. The NBA could shut down overnight. Who gonna watch the NBA if all them brothers leave? Let's just keep it real. Most of the starting five in the NBA is black men. I mean, you won't have, sure, you can let everybody else play, but I guarantee you, the black league will get more attendance. I know they will. You can look at the NFL. Brothers can walk away from that. Start their own football league. We got the money in the black community to start leagues. Yet we don't do it because we're so divided. We're here, we're there. I don't want to join with him because I don't trust him. All that. And also, you heard the brother say in the presentation about black folks having $1 trillion spending power, but yet don't stay in your hands for 6 hours. That's sad. And you give all your money back to the corporations. That's why they don't care about giving LeBron James all that kind of money. It doesn't bother them to do that. Why? Because he's not going to do anything to build up even where he's from. He's not going to try to build some schools. He's not going to try to build a community. He's not going to try to start a whole bunch of businesses and hire these brothers that got records that just made a mistake and being refused to get hired. He's not trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's his responsibility, but the thing is, when you have more, you have to become more responsible at the end of the day. You can't sit up there and say, well, I made it, forget everybody else. You can't do that. Because when you sit up there and stand up and say, you know, I'm going to help my brothers and sisters, God will bless you with more. That's what you do. You're supposed to help people when you're in those positions. And a lot of these brothers and sisters, like Russell Simmons and all them others got buku money. They ain't doing a doggone thing to build anything. And that's sad. You can't take that money with you where you're going at all. You can't. That money going to stay here. Why you sit there and just going to be greedy and not try to help out your brothers and sisters? It is not nobody else's responsibility to help black folks. It's black folks' responsibility. It's not about point blaming white people and this and that and the other. It's about fixing ourselves. We need to fix ourselves. Because who else going to fix us? We don't have no friends to fix us. So who going to fix us? We need to rebuild Black Wall Street. But it starts with building the family first. We've got to have a strong family structure. Build our families, raise our kids, and then let's join together and do the right things. I don't know what y'all think about, Little Africa. It's American history. It's just black folks who are in it as well. and also some racist Klansmen and everybody else. Hit me up in the comments, choose a commentary, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Up with that hair of hers. And then this guy, she a woman. She not acting like a woman, ignoramus. Because if she was acting like a woman, she wouldn't be fighting the way she was fighting. You don't have her kids in that kind of place? Come on, that's wrong. Then I'm going to tell you something, black men. I'm going to talk to you about something for a minute. Now, we talk about